heard about some themes of mindfulness, innovation, and I want to really approach it from a different angle, which might explain why some of these human technologies, like mindfulness and meditation, that have been around for thousands and thousands of years, are becoming so much more relevant today. And I think the themes are these three big threats that we all face. Number one, rapidly changing markets. We're all threatened by rapidly changing markets. Secondly, we are threatened by digital disruption. And thirdly, this huge proliferation of demographic diversity, particularly in the workforce. And perhaps the most powerful force for that difference is technology. As Robert was alluding to, technology dominates our lives. Who in this room, raise your hands if you haven't checked your mobile phone at least once today? Liar. Yeah, there you go. Not a single one, huh? Technology dominates our lives. And not only does technology dominate our lives, it dominates our worlds. Let's look at the dominant players. Let's think about the dominant players on the world stage. The top 5 or 6 organizations on the US stock exchange, on the S&P 500. Let's think about them for a second. Just 10 years ago, if you were to take a snapshot of the top 5 or 6 in the US, let me show you what it would look like. One thing I want you to focus on is the fact that they all come from different sectors. A bit closer to home. The only two that are still there, look, Microsoft and Berkshire. A bit closer to home, if 10 years ago you looked at the dominant players in Australia, you would have seen a miner, 4 banks, and a telecommunications company. I think you can see where I'm going with this. However, if you had a look today, you would see a miner, 4 banks, and a healthcare company. Telstra, still there, they're top 10 or top 11. So what's going on here? Well, they're definitely dominating in the US. So I'd say that they are the ones that are rapidly changing the markets, whereas we are having our market rapidly changed for us, are we not? They are the ones that are disrupting digitally. We're the ones being disrupted, huh? They're the ones that have learned how to embrace and leverage demographic diversity, whereas we're still playing a bit of catch-up. So what's the point here? If you look behind what's going on, those that are successfully innovating in the US, well, it looks like they're doing it and we're not doing it so well. But what's driving that? And what's not clear is that the majority of that innovation value, and this was a huge surprise to me when Alan opened my eyes to it a few weeks ago, the majority of that innovation value is not coming from creativity, insight. While important, it's important. It's not coming from there. If there's anything that you take away from today, it's this point. Innovation through healthy collaboration is the key. So I thought we'd spend a bit of time connecting the dots on 2 things. And first and foremost, I want to talk about the 2 major obstacles to healthy collaboration in all organizations today, whether you're in technology or mining or whatever. They are unproductive meetings and poorly written communications, specifically email. Those are the 2 big challenges. So we'll talk a little bit about those. And secondly, what I'd like to do is to leave you with a practical tool that you can use to immediately start to improve your collaboration with people. And I want you to pass this tool on. I want you to share it with everyone. Because in doing so, we'll make the world a better place. Meetings. Meetings are where minutes are taken, but hours are wasted. I don't know if you get that sense. Unproductive meetings represent a huge opportunity for organizations. Huge opportunity. And they're a great example of unhealthy collaboration. Alan was throwing some stats around a little bit earlier. People in management positions, people in positions of influence, spend around 60% of their day in meetings. The more senior you get, the more time. It's probably more for you. Think about how your day is divided up. More than 60% of your time in meetings, and about half that time is wasted. Because the collaboration's going on, but it's not healthy collaboration. Everyone in this room's heard of Atlassian? They're probably the one Australian exception to the rule, aren't they? our Facebook story. They've got a great website. Don't look at it now, but look it up. It's just bang in a search for "you waste a lot of time at work." Fantastic. I don't know if you've seen it. This is what they have to say about meetings. There was some research conducted by the University of South Australia quite some years back now. About 5,000 executives were surveyed. Let me give you some interesting stats and facts. And I want you to think about your own situation and whether this resonates. Over 75% of people admitted to doing other work during a meeting. Anyone going to fess up? Okay, good on you. And with the proliferation of, I hope no one's doing any emailing while I'm... No, that's good. Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, I was just taking notes, boss, not shopping on the Iconic, right? This one's cool. 96% of people admit to missing a meeting altogether. Yeah, I know, I've done that. 1 in 3 people have admitted to falling asleep in a meeting. Anyone? Thank you, Alan. And 91% of people admitted to daydreaming. With a little reference, including the odd sexual fantasy. Not my words. I'm obviously going to the wrong meetings, really. Anyway, so a lot of time being wasted there. And look, over the years, there's been a lot of effort made to rectify this situation. From stand-up meetings and stand-up desks. All across Google, I think they took all the chairs out of meeting rooms, famously. Posters, meeting manners, protocols. Andy Grove, the CEO of Intel, famously within his first 100 days of taking over CEO of a big chip manufacturing company, he trained every single one of his executive teams personally on how to run effective meetings because he recognized the importance to the value of the organization. Really interesting. The Milwaukee Technical College put together something called a meeting meter. How's this for an innovation? A little Duvalaki on the table on your way in. You scan your employee ID. It tallies up the wages and salaries of everyone in the room, multiplies that by the amount of time you've spent in the room, and spits out a ticket at the end. Says, have you created this much value, at least, for the organisation? So there's all these harebrained stuff going on. And agile, obviously we're talking about the technical world, the whole agile methodology and the importance of these things called scrums. So lots been tried, but I'm not sure we're getting healthy collaboration from it. It's a huge opportunity. Collaborating effectively during meetings in person and increasingly virtually is really, really important. And it can be done by simply addressing 7 essential principles for running highly productive meetings. There's only 7. And the number one culprit is what? Email. Email or written communications. Atlassian, our friends of Atlassian have done a bit more work on this as well. And it's not just specifically email, by the way. There's all the other platforms from the Yammers and Slacks and Facebook messaging and text messaging and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not just email that we're blaming. And as Alan alluded to, you do a lot more talking by typing these days than you ever did before. Much more collaborating via the written word than via the spoken word. And think about how wide your audience is as well. With a click of a button, you can get your message out to tens of thousands of people. I don't know of any meeting room in the world that has that many people. I want you to think about how many people there are in the organisation you work for. Everyone put that number in your head right now. Everyone got it? May only be 1. Could be 100, could be 1,000. Multiply that number by 4. And then I want you to add 3 zeros to the end of it. Has anyone in the room got a number that's less than 1 million? Didn't think so. Some in the tens of millions? Maybe some in the hundreds of millions. Well, guess what? That's how much poorly written email email alone costs your organisation every year. One of the 3 golden rules is this. If you want to start to collaborate more healthily via the written word, all of your written comms, all of your emails should be what we call self-contained. What does that mean? No more. Who's experienced a situation where you've been sent an email? It's probably a conversation thread of about 8 weeks worth of email. And up the top it says, "Hi Simon, please see below. What are your thoughts?" Question mark. Anyone ever received one of them? Anyone who hasn't, you're very lucky. It's not hard to think how these tens of millions of productive hours are wasted through, it's collaboration. It's not healthy collaboration though, is it? So your job is to summarise the conversation, the narrative in a way that's short enough, yet long enough that your reader sees the world through your eyes. And that's not an easy thing to do. And here, what I'm doing is distinguishing between the narrative approach and a more business-like approach to communicating with people. And a really important aspect of that is something that's very old-fashioned sounding, called the executive summary. Now, I probably would have bullied myself at school for saying this, but they're really cool things, executive summaries. And they're really useful. Why? Why are exec summaries so useful? Tell me. They're short, save time, yeah? I mean, why is it called an executive summary? Well, often the executive will execute or adopt recommendations off the back of just the summary, if it's good enough. And if you're sitting as a board or a committee or a team and you've got 5 different business cases to look at, which one gets read first? The one with the best exec summary. So I think executive summaries have become a bit of a lost art and really are one of the best kept secrets or tools in the arsenal of the world's most connected and successful leaders. So I'd like to give you the recipe for that today. And it's something you can take away and use. Blackwell's got a very specific approach to executive summaries. We think, or we feel, we know in fact that they are much more compelling if you can structure them in the format of a story. We often read about storytelling and leadership and how wonderful and powerful it is, yeah? And the reason why is that all the psychologists tell us that we are hardwired to enjoy stories. We've been hardwired from birth. We love a good story. All of us spent the first 5 years of our lives absorbing every ounce of information in the format of a story. So why stop now? How does every story begin? Think about a Walt Disney film or a fairy tale. How does every story start? Come on. With what words? Once upon a time. Okay, that'll do. Or in the beginning. Yeah. In the biblical sense. Okay, once upon a time. In grown-up adult language, that is situation. Situation. All right, let me tell you a quick story. Once upon a time, there were 3 little pigs, and they wanted to build some houses. The first pig built a house made of straw. Second pig built a house made of sticks, and the third pig built a house made of bricks. And they all lived happily ever after. Well, I didn't even get a chance to ask, how was my story? Don't hold back, Belinda, come on, tell me what you really feel. Yeah, it was garbage, wasn't it? But it had a beginning, a middle, and an end, right? So there's a lot more to a good story, isn't there, than just a beginning. What was missing? Why was it boring? Problem, yeah? Excitement in the form of what?
Challenge.
Everyone knows the big bad wolf. Okay, so problem I don't mind, but I'm going to use this word instead for a couple of reasons. Complication. Complication. What's the complication? Where's the big bad wolf or the issue or the problem? And the reason why I want to use the C word instead of the P, although P works, but we're going to end up with SCAR story statements. But we could have SPAR ones, I suppose, but I can't trademark SPAR, so I'll trademark SCAR. Okay. Situation is 3 little pigs want to build a house. Complication is if we don't build it out of the right stuff, the big bad wolf's going to eat us. So the approach we took was to test out some different building materials. And as a result, if you're a pig, you should build your house out of bricks. It will save you from the wolf. It will give you much better resale value down the track and keep you warm during winter. So 3 supporting bits of evidence. That's how you make your emails all-inclusive. Let me give you a real-life situation. Situation is, reads the executive or reads your audience. Situation is, we put this network infrastructure in 20 years ago. Yeah, I remember that. We used copper, yeah. Complication was, at the time, we really didn't appreciate the volume of data packets and things that were going to be pushed across that network. Yeah. So the approach we've taken is to really analyse 2 different paths of action. Either we remediate, we patch it up and we try and make it fit for purpose, or we just tear the whole thing out and start again with fibre optic. I wonder what they're going to recommend. As a result of that research, we recommend you tear it out and put fibre to the node. It'll future-proof, be more cost-effective in the long run, and it'll get you elected at the next general election. All right. So there's a SCAR story statement. To sum it up, we've looked at the major threats, the forces of rapidly changing markets, digital disruption, and demographic diversity. I want to leave you with a key message one final time, which is this. The antidote to all of this is to innovate through healthy collaboration.